That's anything but ordinary. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Tipped in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is Game Night with Josh Hennick.
It's good!
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
And he scored!
Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort studio. Here's Josh Hennick.
Back from the weekend, Josh Hennick here on 97.3 ESPN. Phillies finally found a win over the weekend. We'll get to that, plus the latest around the NFL and Eagles training camp. Joining us in less than 20 minutes from now will be Rob Motti from the Associated Press here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. As always, you guys can join the conversation at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. So let's review the Phillies weekend, talk about what they have coming up this week, because, you know, I had somebody ask me almost immediately after the Phillies game yesterday. I got a message that said, he's like, "Hey man, so any hope they're going to win in LA?" And I got to tell you guys, you know, my answer to him is going to be the same I tell you guys. I'm not walking into this LA series with a ton of confidence. And the reason why I'm not is not because I don't think the Phillies can win these 2 out of 3 games in LA. I think it's certainly possible. But there's 2 contrasting issues that are kind of bubbling to the surface right now as we enter this series. Number one, the Phillies didn't just break a losing streak. They also broke Bryce Harper's hitless streak. They also finally won a game in which they held the lead and kept the lead. Look, you could argue they should have and could have won the game on Saturday. And frankly, the reason why they didn't is because of, frankly, bad luck. All right. You bring in an all-star pitcher, you should be able to lock down that inning. Jeff Hoffman had arguably the worst game of the season on Saturday. You got what you needed to out of Kerkering and Kobe Allard, of all people, and it just didn't work out for you. Yesterday, Zach Wheeler goes out there and becomes the first Phillies pitcher to have 5 starts of going 6 innings or more with 2 or fewer hits since Grover Cleveland Alexander 100 years ago. That is how unique of a season Zach Wheeler is having, and you needed every bit of it yesterday in order to ensure that you got the win. Now, of course, what helped part of it was Bryce Harper breaking out of his slump, right? Harper has historically played better in August than in July. You know, the numbers are right there. Bryce Harper in 2023 batted .361 in the month of August. 2022, .381, .337 in 2021. Before this year, from 2019 to 2023, Harper has 37 home runs in those 6 years in the month of August alone. So, combined Harper finally breaking out of his slump, combined with Kyle Schwarber on a leadoff homer. The Phillies are 17-4 in the last 2 seasons when Schwarber hit the leadoff homer. That's why they won the game yesterday. But now you see what's ahead of you. Tyler Glasnow tonight. Clayton Kershaw on Tuesday. Gavin Stone on Wednesday. If you're going to steal 2 out of 3 in LA now, you're going to have to, 1, try to find a way to maybe get Glasnow to go in the deep counts so he doesn't last as long in the game. Remember, he is on an unofficial pitch count moving forward because of the fact that he has already been injured this year. And Glasnow is a guy who has not pitched a lot of innings in his career. For as great of a talent of a pitcher that he is, Glass now has had durability issues, and it's kind of ironic because his name is Glass now. And you could argue that maybe he is built of glass a little bit because this guy has already pitched a career high in innings this season. 121. He never pitched more than 120 in his career before. So for as elite of a pitcher as he is at times and as a quality of a pitcher, I mean, the guy, he has amazing numbers across the board. His metrics, his ERA, his whip, it's all really good. Strikeouts per 9 innings, right? But the problem with him is durability. So if you're going to get to him tonight, you got to work that pitch count. You got to get some deep counts, get him out of the game as soon as possible. You might not score for 5 innings, but if you can get him to 100 pitches in those first 4 to 5 innings, you get him out of the game, and that's how you have a chance tonight. Tomorrow, Clayton Kershaw is not the Clayton Kershaw he used to be. He is not the Cy Young award-winning left-handed pitcher. And if you can get some production out of your hitters tomorrow, you have a chance to win. And then you go into the game on Wednesday. If you can win those 2 games, then maybe going against Stone doesn't seem as dubious of a task because you already beat Glasnow and Kershaw, and you get your confidence up and going again. Because guess what? You want to lock down a couple wins in LA because going to Arizona, that is going to be a tough hill to climb. And it's not just because the Diamondbacks beat you in the NLCS last year. It's because of who you're going to face in that series. Zach Gallen being one of the pitchers. And Arizona has acquired Josh Bell. So 1, you're going to see one of their best pitchers. 2, for 4 games, you're going to see a guy who has historically destroyed you at the plate. So you need to get something out of the LA series in order to go into Arizona and not get deflated from the entire road trip. Get through the next several days, Philadelphia. 7 games coming up on the road till you get an off day on Monday. If the Phillies can walk out of these 7 days with a 3-4 record, I think you're going to be pretty content. Not thrilled, but you're going to be good with it because you survived the worst stretch of the year. Because after that, you get Miami for 2 games, a depleted Miami Marlins team, and a Washington Nationals team for 4 games at home. You get home and you hit the reset button, but you got to get through the next 7 games. And hopefully yesterday's win is a good omen of things to come. Hopefully there is hopefully it is the positive reinforcement that you needed yesterday to know that, hey, we're not just saying we're the best team in baseball. We know that we are still the best team in baseball. Check your text board a little bit later this hour, 609-403-0973. Your DMs into 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Eagles made a roster addition this morning that I think is very interesting because they signed Shaquille Quarterman. Now, many of you probably have no idea who Quarterman is, which is fine. I don't expect you to. But here's the relevance of why you should be interested. This is now 2 straight years that Philadelphia has added a quote-unquote random veteran linebacker in the middle of training camp. Now, last year, you obviously were very depleted at linebacker, and you absolutely had to bring in Zach Cunningham and Miles Jack. Quarterman, though, is a completely different animal. Unlike Jack and Cunningham, he does not have experience being a starting linebacker. He has at least 203 special team snaps in each of his 4 years in Jacksonville. So he has purely been a special teams contributor in Jacksonville. Don't forget, this is now the 2nd straight special team specialist, quote unquote, who can play linebacker, who Philadelphia has signed this offseason. And Vic Fangio, again, spoke about that other guy being Zach Bond about his versatility.
He still has that versatility, and that's kind of what I was saying before, learning our team as we go through the rest of camp. We'll be able to use him in different ways because of his versatility.
Now, I don't know what Quarterman does or doesn't bring to this team, but you got to wonder if Fangio is looking for more versatility, and in a world where we have these new kickoff rules, is it possible that a guy like Quarterman and a guy like Bond are more valuable in today's football environment than previously? Also factor in that Vic Fangio has not been happy with the way the linebackers have played the run game in camp so far.
Yeah, we haven't had a lot of reps in it, but overall it's been good at times, not so good at other times. We need to win a high percentage of the battles when we go against a running back. And some guys have been good, some not so up to this point.
And I think that is a huge reason why Quarterman was signed, because I think the Eagles realize that they are not getting the level of play that they wanted from the entire linebacker group. People can rave all they want about Ben Van Sumeren in the Eagles organization. The Eagle fans can love the idea of Nakobe Dean all they want. People can talk about, like Vic Fangio, how much they love Zach Bond, his versatility, right? But the truth is that the Eagles do not have great linebacker play right now. They need more depth. And depth, as if you ever listen to Football at 4 on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN, Adam Kaplan, NFL insider, he has said this multiple times on the Sports Bash about how depth is not the number of guys that you have at a position group. It is the number of guys who you entrust to be starters at that position group. And right now, I don't think Philadelphia is real confident about their linebacker group outside of the top three. I think that they look at Devin White, Zach Bond, and Nakobe Dean as the big three linebackers right now. But if anything happens to those guys, if anybody goes down, if anybody gets injured, right? I don't think Philadelphia looks at Oren Burks, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Ben Van Sumeren. They don't look at those guys as, I know for a fact these guys are coming in and going to get quality reps, because there's a problem with all these guys. Look, Oren Burks was a depth player with San Francisco, but there's a reason why he never became a starter in San Francisco. He has limitations. Ben Van Sumeren, I know he's an athlete that a lot of people love, but he's probably just going to be a special teams contributor, and he's a break last case of emergency guy for linebacker. The reality is that Jeremiah Trotter Jr. was much more of a blitzing linebacker in college than he was a coverage linebacker on defense. So I don't necessarily look at those guys as, hey, they can come in and get valuable reps for this team. I think Shaq Quarterman is at least a player who they can say, look, we know this guy has done some NFL playing. We can't say that as much about Van Sumeren, Trotter Jr., and even a guy like Brandon Smith, right? These guys are not, hey, I know that we need a guy to come in, that guy can come in. And frankly, when Vic Fangio says this about Nakobe Dean, it makes me a little worried.
I thought Nakobe had the first few days of practice, I thought he played really, really good. And, took a step back a little bit in the stadium practice, but overall he's been doing really good.
Look, Fangio can say overall he's doing good, but that sounds like a guy who's a little frustrated that Nakobe Dean has not pushed harder to take any reps away from Zach Bond and Devin White. He has still consistently been at every practice the third linebacker. Whenever Bond or White come off the field, it's Dean that comes in. He has not played in any opportunities as a primary number one linebacker for this team. And I think that is a problem that they are going to have to deal with as they go through camp. And don't be surprised if Howie brings in more randos who will play linebacker or trade for someone who maybe another team says, we don't have a use for this guy, but maybe you do, Philadelphia. What are you willing to give us? And Philadelphia will say, well, maybe we have offensive linemen that you can use, or maybe we have a tight end or one of our 20 gazillion wide receivers. You want that guy? It could be a situation like that. Talk with Rob Monty about it coming up next here on Game Night. Josh Henning hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Wake up weekday mornings from 6 to 10 a.m. with Unsportsmanlike on 97.3 ESPN with Evan Cohen, Super Bowl champion Chris Canty, and Michelle Small.
Can't wake up without it.
Brought to you by the Gallery Bar Book and Games at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City.
It's common knowledge that after age 30, our metabolism changes. We have less energy and gain weight easier. There's a way to feel better, not in years or months, but sometimes in just days.
I'm Chuck Norris. I tried everything. Working with a team of health experts, we came up with Morning Kick. Morning Kick is a revolutionary new formula that combines all my favorite supplements into one daily drink.
Morning Kick has probiotics to help you lose weight, prebiotics for digestion, superfoods for muscles and joints, and powerful anti-aging supplements. It'll help you feel youthful, energized, and helps manage stress.
I look and feel better than I have in years.
Go to roundhouseprovisions.com, use code SUPPORT, or text SUPPORT to 511-511 and claim 40% off. Roundhouseprovisions.com, code SUPPORT.
Every purchase comes with our 90-day money-back guarantee. You could be feeling these changes within just a couple of days.
Text SUPPORT to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
She posted about us just now.
Celebrities can't get enough of Beyonce's bespoke skincare line.
She has 147 million followers. How do we monetize?
She needs a social media associate to help her with the hype.
We should repost this. Do we need a hashtag?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, Birds fans, it's about that time. Football season is back, and Boardwalk Honda is giving you the chance to score big. Stop in and take advantage of game-changing savings all month long. Shop our lineup of new pre-owned and certified pre-owned Hondas. We have something for everyone, and credit problems are no problem with over 25 financial lenders to get you approved and on the road to victory. Visit us in Egg Harbor Township or online at boardwalkhonda.com. And remember, from Maine to Miami, nobody beats a Boardwalk deal.
Total Wireless is made to totally keep up with you. We now have unlimited data that never slows you down. Covered by the Verizon 5G network. And for less than $30 a month, we make your phone your ride or die. Switch now and pick a free 5G phone with qualified plan purchase. And your fourth line at no additional cost. Visit your local Total Wireless store today. Total Wireless, we're totally with you. Actual speeds may vary by location. For data management practices, see TotalWireless.com.
Powered by the all-new BetParks New Jersey Casino and Sportsbook app. BetParks.com. This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
The Phillies get back in the win column. I'm Nick Earnshaw with your South Jersey Sports Center and with your 97.3 ESPN question of the day. After dropping the first two games of their road trip and losing 6 in a row, the Phillies had an offensive outburst in the 8th inning yesterday, which led them to a 6-0 win over the Mariners. With that being said, our 97.3 ESPN question of the day is, do you believe after yesterday's win, the Phillies will finally get out of their slump? Let us know by texting 609-403-0973 or use the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Yeah, I think yesterday can be a building block to the Phillies getting back on track offensively. Wheeler also had a really good start. So from all aspects of the game, it looks like the Phillies put something together yesterday where it could propel them to having an above 500 record on this road trip. We'll see. They play the Dodgers tonight. Once again, text in at 609-403-0973. Your forecast is next.
From playtime to showtime, Atlantic City always serves classic summer fun with a twist of cool. Visit AtlanticCityNJ.com to win an overnight getaway.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chris Coleman. It looks like most of the week ahead of us will feature some unsettled weather as we keep an eye on Debbie and her exact track. Partly cloudy for tonight with a low of 72. Then for tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday, a mix of sun and clouds each day with at least a 50-50 chance of afternoon showers and thunderstorms with highs into the 80s through the middle of the week. Get your local forecast anytime. Download our free station app today.
If you or someone you know needs help getting through a difficult time, start with NJ211. When you reach out to 211, we can connect you to help with housing, utilities, food, childcare, senior services, income support, healthcare, legal issues, and more. Help is available in over 150 languages, and the service is free, confidential, and available 24/7. Need help? Dial 211, text 898-211. Or search nj211.org.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
We'll check back at the text board in just a bit at 609-403-0973 and your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. But right now, as promised, joining us is Rob Motti, senior writer and reporter for the Associated Press, joining us to talk more about the NFL as we are counting down the days to the Eagles' first preseason game. How are you doing today?
What's going on, Josh? How are you? A lot of rain here in the Florida area. So a little bit of a hurricane, 3 years now, 3 hurricanes, but all good.
Yeah, everyone good? Everyone safe down there?
Yeah, we're okay where we live. Just a lot of rain, a lot of wind, but some of our favorite spots got hit pretty hard with a lot of flooding. So it's the trade-off for having great weather 12 months a year. Is you got to deal with some rain in August and September. But I was able to get from Canton home. Was concerned about that. Made it okay. Got to see a little bit of football, a little bit of the first preseason game, some Hall of Fame inductions. So that's always cool to kick off the season like that.
Yeah, you're basically in South Jersey, basically. You know, you got when it rains a lot, it floods here at the shore. So, I mean, it's the same
thing. No doubt. Exactly.
Rob, I wanted to start with this because, you know, as the Eagles prepare for their first preseason game, there's a lot of speculation right now that they're going to play some of their starters in these preseason games because, you know, Fangio was talking today about how, you know, there is no traction on these position battles, you know, whether it's the second cornerback position or who's going to play nickel corner or the linebacker trio that's going on. And, you know, Fangio, for as honest as he is, and he's going to be delighted to cover all year. Listen to him. I mean, even Merrill Reese said that, you know, Fangio reminds him of Jim Johnson. So, you know, even Fangio is like, look, I don't have any answers of who's winning these position battles. So, you know, we could be in for a very interesting month to see how this roster plays out with the Eagles.
You got to be careful with how much you're playing guys in the preseason, but I do think that the Eagles may be leaning towards doing that, especially the way they finished last year. And you get a little bit of the negative taste, the bad taste out of your mouth if the starters can go out there and play a series or two and put up 7-10 points. But from a defensive side, it's understandable that Vic Fangio wants to see these guys compete and wants to see exactly what he has. And there's still certainly some question marks that he has. A lot of teams are reluctant to play their starters, and that's also understandable because you don't want to risk injury. But I always feel like, hey, you can get hurt in practice, you can get hurt in the joint practices, which a lot of teams are now treating as if they are preseason games. And when you get guys out there on the field running around, I think it helps, and I like to see starters go out there for a couple series of preseason, whether it's 15 to 20 snaps, whatever it may be. I understand if you're the Jets and you got Aaron Rodgers, there's really no need to put him out there, but I think it varies, Josh, from team to team and what you're trying to accomplish, how new maybe the system can be, and in the Eagles' case, it's a new offensive system with a new coordinator, a new defensive system with a new coordinator. So it makes sense to give them some action. I don't know if you want to do that in week 1 or week 2, or usually it used to be the last preseason game where guys go the deepest. I'm not sure how they want to play that. Obviously, they got to gear up and get ready for the trip to Brazil and the opening game on September 6th. So it's going to certainly be interesting to see, and I hope we do get an opportunity to see some of these guys at least out there. Brandon Graham doesn't have to play, right? Lane Johnson doesn't have to play. Some of these the veteran guys who are but some of the others you want to get them out there. You know, I don't know that I need to see AJ Brown at all, or Devontae Smith, but Saquon Barkley's new in the system. Maybe you do want to see them all together for one series. So interesting to see how Sirianni plays this out.
Well, the other part, you mentioned it kind of in passing there about how we don't need to see Brandon Graham, right? We don't need to see the guys who we already know who and what they are. But there's a lot of guys you do need to see. You know, there were a lot of questions about Devin White when he left Tampa Bay. Zach Bond has never really been an every down linebacker in the NFL. Nakobe Dean has really never lived up to his potential so far. That's just 3 players, right? And then you got the outside corner. It's mostly been Isaiah Rodgers and Keely Ringo on the outside, not Quinyon Mitchell, the first round draft pick, who instead has been at nickel corner almost every day of camp. So there's a lot of moving parts here. And look, I get it. Vic Fangio is a unique individual. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a defense that's got Isaiah Rodgers, Quinyon Mitchell, CJ Gunnar-Johnson, Reed Blankenship, Darius Slay, and Avonte Maddox in secondary at times because he likes to be creative. But I mean, you know how Eagle fans are, Rob. All they care about is winning. They want to see results, and you know whatever formation goes out there, no matter how weird it is, they want to see that it works.
Yeah, and if you go out there in the preseason and they stink it up a little bit too, that can be a little bit of a nerve wracker for some of the Eagles fans. But I still go back to, remember that, was it against the Packers where Sam Bradford came out and he then got, right? He was perfect. He had tremendous and that was in Chip Kelly's might have been Chip Kelly's 3rd season, right? Sam Bradford was year 3, I believe. But
yeah,
however it played out, they didn't make the playoffs. Chip got fired that year, but they were fantastic. And that was the Tim Tebow. The only thing that didn't work was Tebow trying a 2-point conversion that season. As you were running down all those corners, you didn't mention James Bradbury. And
he's playing safety.
Yeah, and that in and of itself you want to see. Like you want to see how he can transition for the first time playing that position with all the depth that they have at corner. How's James Bradbury's transition to safety going, and what does that look like? So it'd be nice to get him some reps in the preseason before he's out there for the first time doing that in a real game where it counts and everything matters. So I think if Vic Fangio had his way, and he probably has a whole lot of influence on the defense and the way things are going to go in the preseason, it's his unit. I think you're going to see some of those guys. I just don't know if it's this week or later on in the preseason.
Talking with Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press, joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, at Rob Maaddi on the Twitter X platform. Rob, you covered the Eagles intimately for many years, so you're familiar with that guy, Howie Roseman. Are we potentially, just counting down until Howie makes some random move before the season? Because he's done this before, right? You know, whether it was CJ Gunnar-Johnson, whether it was Ronald Darby, right? Whoever it may be, he's made some moves before a season when they needed something. And I'm looking at this team and I'm wondering, is Vic Fangio going to walk upstairs at some point and be like, Howie, you got to help me out, man?
I think it's always possible, but the way that the NFL has structured now, you can carry there's no 3-tiered system or process to cutting rosters down. You don't have to go from 90 to 72 to whatever to end up at 53. You do it all that one day, that last 10 days or whatever, August 27th, I think it is. So that kind of takes away a little bit from some of the availability of guys. Now, some teams will do right by a veteran where they know he's not going to make the final 53, somebody who's meant something to an organization, and they'll let him walk early so he can get an opportunity to hook on with someone else. Or in a case of a trade, they'll try and work something out early to give that guy a better opportunity. So I do think Howie's always going to explore his all his options, or kick the tires, as they say. It's one of the great cliches in sports. But for me, the likelihood of something major, something at the standpoint of like Jordan Matthews for Ronald Darby, which was a huge deal at the time because Jordan was a popular player on the offense, the number one receiver. And now Alshon had come in and Torrey Smith that season, but he was a big part of that group. So that was a major trade to go out there and trade him in August for Ronald Darby. And it worked out as the Eagles went on to win the Super Bowl. Now, Darby was part of the defense that gave up 500 plus yards, but in that Super Bowl game, but still Nick Foles bailed them out and the Eagles and the offense were able to win. So GJ is another one. I think Howie will continue to look and explore, but they got guys in there. They got talent. And I was talking to some people in Canton about the NFC East and about the Eagles, and the expectation is that the Eagles are going to win this division easier than Philly fans than Eagles fans probably think. Like, there's a lot of people who are down on the Cowboys, myself included. We don't think that the Giants are going to be anywhere near ready to compete, and nor the Commanders. I think both teams will be improved, but Dallas has got to take a step backward. They lost a lot of key pieces. They didn't make any significant additions. They still don't have CeeDee Lamb. Meanwhile, the Eagles did bring in Saquon Barkley. They did supplement here and there, and despite a horrific finish, this is a talented football team. So I know the day-to-day grind in Philly and Eagles being what they are, despite the Phillies being a semi-collapse before yesterday's win. That everyone's concerned, but I think this team wins the division comfortably at this point. I'm not ready to finalize my predictions yet, Josh, but I don't think they're at a point right now where they need to do anything major to tweak the roster. Let the guys, whoever's nicked up, Cooper DeJean, and let him get healthy, and let's go out there and see what they have before. If you need anything, maybe you supplement at the trade deadline, which got pushed back another week this year, so it's even closer towards the end of the season.
Yeah, that trade deadline being pushed back is definitely a big win for everybody.
Yeah,
not just not just the GMs, but all the fans too. They get they get that little extra string of hope, for those fan bases out there. Rob, I want to hit on some stories around the league with you. I gotta get your perspective on this Hassan Reddick situation with the Jets. I mean, you know how Eagle fans were. They talked about Joe Douglas like he was God for a while here. Well, Joe Douglas looks like he's dropping the ball right now. The quote-unquote football guy, Joe Douglas, can't get Hassan Reddick into camp. And poor Robert Saleh, the head coach, having to answer questions about it seemingly every day.
Yeah, Joe Douglas's best move was figuring out a way to get Aaron Rodgers in. But other than that, he hasn't done much to convince me of anything with the Jets, because last year when they lost Aaron Rodgers, they basically gave up by not going out there and getting a better quarterback. And then you make a deal for Hassan Reddick, who wanted a new contract in Philly. That's the only reason why the Eagles traded him, is because he wanted a new contract. And you don't give him a new contract. How do you not have that foresight? How do you not know that this is what is going to transpire? And I'm trying to read what Salah said today. I guess it doesn't matter what I thought at the time. The reality is he's not here. Well, yeah, there are a bunch of guys who are working their tails off. Will McDonald's getting a lot of reps. All right, that's great. But you traded for Hassan Reddick because he's a premier edge rusher in the NFL, and he's not there. That's just terrible for the Jets defense right now. And this is a team that's in a win now situation. Like, they got Aaron Rodgers coming back from a torn Achilles. They're making moves. They got Mike Williams at wide receiver, an older guy, like, to build that offense to where they can win instantly, immediately, right away, because the window is very small with Rodgers. And Hassan Reddick is another one of those guys. You bring him in, and the expectation is to bolster an already pretty solid defense, and you didn't have the foresight to recognize that he's got to get a new deal, or you got to restructure this deal. Like, at least figure out a way to give him more money guaranteed this year, like some other players are, some other situations have worked out for other guys and other teams but do whatever you got to do, but get him in camp and let him get out there and get after quarterbacks, because you're going to need him running down Tua Tagovailoa and Josh Allen to be able to compete in the AFC East.
Yeah, we're not worried about Jacoby Brissett, that's for sure. So
yeah, the Drake May, Jacoby Brissett. They'll be lucky if they win 4 or 5 games.
I said it last week, Rob. I'm taking the under on the Patriots this year on the win.
I saw it at 4.5. So you're going under 4.5. All right.
I'm going under 4.5. I think if they win 4 games, they're doing pretty good.
Yeah, and obviously Drake May's going to be their starting quarterback sooner rather than later. But that team is a long way away from the Patriot way. What they used to be and what they are now. Oh my goodness.
Speaking of teams that have a tradition of winning, the 49ers have been a pretty darn good franchise in terms of building through the draft, building their personnel. This Brandon Ayuk thing is starting to look more and more weird, Rob, because initially, I got to be honest, I thought that the whole, him asking for a trade was just, hey, Debo did the same thing, right? That's what I thought. And now it's starting to look more and more like maybe there is something to all this stuff. And now there's speculation. Is he going to be traded? Is he not going to be traded? How long do they wait to trade him? What is your take on this Brandon Ayuk stuff? Because I got to think that if you're an NFL team out there, every team who needs a wide receiver, even moderately, is calling San Francisco and John Lynch.
Yeah, you got to be. That's certainly an area you got to explore if you need a receiver. And it's the longer it takes, Josh, the more it seems that a breakup is likely, because I thought, like you and everybody, hey, Deebo Samuel requested a trade. They've been through this before. With Deebo's case, it was like in April where he requested that trade, and then they got the deal done July, August, whenever that was. And Ayuk was a whole lot later requesting the trade and they haven't been able to get a deal done. And they have a lot of pieces on offense. I get it. I understand that. You're going to have to pay Brock Purdy next year. This year, he's going to play at $985,000, which is the best bargain in sports, but he can't get a contract extension because of his rookie deal. So he's not even eligible till after this season. So I can understand where they're trying. They paid Christian McCaffrey, and Bosa's been paid, and Debo's been paid. At some point, you're going to run out of cash. You can't continue to pay all these guys, and Kittle's got big money, and Fred Warner. So it makes sense to me that they're not able to work out exactly what Brandon Ayuk wants, although he's a big part of the offense. He's a major piece for an extremely versatile, dynamic offensive team that's coming off nearly winning the Super Bowl. So if you're an Eagles fan, you certainly should be rooting for Ayuk to go to the Steelers or anywhere in the AFC, because that just makes the Eagles' chances of winning the NFC and coming out of the conference that much better. Because at this point, I think it's San Fran coming off a loss, and teams they struggle after they lose a Super Bowl. There's always a little bit of a letdown. The Eagles, and everyone's high on Detroit, but I think they're all right there in the mix. So anything to where one of those teams can lose somebody, if you're an Eagles fan, keep rooting for that breakup and seeing Brandon Ayuk land somewhere in the AFC, whether it's Pittsburgh or anywhere else. And it wouldn't shock me, Josh, if the 49ers can figure this out and make him happy before the start of this season. But this is one that goes either way. I can understand both sides of it.
Speaking of wide receivers, there's still no CeeDee Lamb at Cowboys game, although we have plenty of video footage now of him training on the beach. So we know he's working out. We know he's training, but it's kind of like NBA players, right? The NBA players show like the videos of them working out in the offseason. CeeDee Lamb's pulling that card. He's like, I'm still out here working, but I'm not with Cowboys camp.
I haven't seen the Ben Simmons jumper videos this offseason. has that been like, am I missing something? Is my basketball Twitter is not up to date on that? But yeah, CD's out there doing his thing, and he's an all-pro. He's tremendous, and they need to get him in camp, or they're not going to have any shot of competing with the Eagles. So. I think I don't know what Jerry Jones is doing, man. I don't understand what the Cowboys are doing. I didn't understand bringing back Mike McCarthy after another collapse in the playoffs. There's a lot that's happening in Dallas that I don't get. I don't understand how you bank on Ezekiel Elliott being RB1 going into this season. Like, it makes no sense to me what they're thinking, other than, hey, we've won 13, 12 games and been able to do and haven't gone anywhere. Maybe if we sneak into the playoffs at 9-8, we got a better shot. I don't get it. I don't understand it. But again, that's even better for the Eagles and the Eagles fan base when CD Lamb, even if they get something done, which I anticipate it's going to happen. But if you get that, like, this is a team that let Emmitt Smith miss 2 games of a season way back. Remember that? He sat out the first 2 games. I think they won the Super Bowl that year.
They did.
It's a little different situation now, different times. So if CD misses all of training camp and he eventually gets in there, the likelihood, man, of an injury, just a soft tissue injury, like I get all these updates and reports from the NFL and how some of the practices and some of those methods and some of the things that lead to more soft tissue injuries. And you got to get in camp. I don't care what you're doing on the beach. I don't care what you're doing wherever you're doing it. It's not the same. There's no substitute. And it could hamper the start of his season. So again, a big win for the Eagles, whatever's happening in Dallas.
Rob, before I let you go, I purposely saved this story for last because you are the host of Faith on the Field, heard Saturday and Sunday mornings here on 97.3 ESPN. A lot of people are calling this a win for people who are Christians because of Harrison Butker now being the highest paid kicker in the NFL. And by the way, for those who don't know, he negotiated the deal himself. He did not have an agent representing him. Him and the Chiefs got this deal done. $17.75 million guaranteed, a 4-year deal worth of the $25 million. Rob, your thoughts?
Harrison Butker's clutch, man, kicked the game-winning field goal to win the Super Bowl 2 years ago against the Eagles. Had a big field goal. I think it was against the Bengals in the AFC Championship, against the Eagles to set up later in that game. Like last year against the 49ers to send it into OT. So he's a clutch guy. He's a money kicker. Last year, I think he was 5 of 5 from beyond 50. In the playoffs, his numbers are even better than in the regular season. I think by a percentage point, like 88 to 89%, wherever it is. So it makes sense. This is a team that's locked up their stars. They're going for the 3-peat, and you want to have. He's the highest paid kicker. He may not be the best kicker in the NFL, but he's certainly top 3, top 4, and you can certainly count on him when the pressure is on. And I think that means a lot. That matters because you want to know when you're in that situation and you need a guy to nail a kick in a championship game, whether it's a playoff game, conference championship, or Super Bowl. He's done it, and he'll go out there and he'll do it again. And I think it's a big move for them.
By the way, but the highest paid kickers right now in the NFL, Harrison Butker, followed by Justin Tucker, and then that guy Jake Elliott in Philadelphia. 3 highest paid kickers now in the NFL, and it's pretty good company to be in. No matter how you view those guys, to say the least. Rob Maaddi joining us at Rob Maaddi on Twitter X, Associated Press senior NFL writer, and as I mentioned, host of Faith on the Field, heard Saturday and Sunday mornings right here on 97.3 ESPN. Rob, great stuff today.
Thanks, Josh. Keep up the great work, buddy.
Appreciate it. Rob Maaddi, always great stuff from him. We'll check on the text board coming up on the other side, 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
This is South Jersey's official home for Philadelphia Eagles football. The Eagles return to open the 2024 preseason this Friday night in Baltimore against the Ravens.
They've got him! It's a sack! It's Brandon Graham!
Listen to all the action with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick with pregame coverage starting at 6:30 and kickoff at 7:30. This is the play-by-play home of the Philadelphia Eagles. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
With T-Mobile, you can get tons of benefits and still save on every plan versus AT&T and Verizon. Because nobody likes having to choose. It's like getting romance and sci-fi.
Jane, I love you. Also, I'm a robot.
or being a dog person and a cat person.
Who wants a treat? Who's a good boy?
Or like being an extrovert and an introvert.
Woo! This is so fun! I can't wait to go home.
At T-Mobile, you don't have to choose. You can get the benefits you want and still save on every plan versus AT&T and Verizon. See how much you can save with our savings calculator at T-Mobile.com/switch. Plus, when you switch, you can keep your phone and we'll pay it off up to $800.
Via virtual prepaid card in 15 days. Qualifying unlocked device, credit service, and timely redemption required. Card has no cash access and expires in 6 months. See T-Mobile.com.
Whatever happened to Tony Horton, the guy who created the revolutionary P90X?
2017, I was knocked down. A very rare type of shingles that went straight into my brain. My body was completely wasting away. I started researching everything related to building my muscle back again. That's when I learned about the potential of HMB plus vitamin D3 and what they can do when it comes to helping build new muscle.
So Tony developed high-impact protein by Power Life.
Just add 1 scoop of high-impact protein to a glass of water or your morning smoothie and enjoy the effects of that boss molecule and factory worker combination. Reshaping your body each and every day. More energy, burn more fat, and probably drop a few pounds along the way.
High-impact protein by Power Life is a tasty once-a-day powder that comes in either whey or plant protein. Go to mypowerlife.com and use code MUSCLE to save 30%. Tony even offers a 90-day guarantee. Go to mypowerlife.com or text MUSCLE to 511-511. Text MUSCLE to 511-511 today. All individuals are unique. Your results can and will vary. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
3 reasons I ditched my old school deodorant and made the switch to Lumi Whole Body Deodorant for pits, privates, and beyond. First, Lumi is crazy effective. It controls odor in a new way and keeps me fresher longer. Second, it's a whole body deodorant that works on every nook and cranny. You know, the ones we all have. My pits, underboob, thigh folds, behind, and even feet. Use it anywhere. Third, Lumi was created by an OBGYN. I don't know about you, but knowing Lumi was formulated by an OBGYN who knows all about safety below the belt is super reassuring. Experience a new way to control odor longer that works everywhere. There's a special offer for listeners. Go to LumiDeodorant.com and use code SUPER and get 15% off your first purchase with code SUPER. Like the Lumi Starter Pack, Acidified Body Wash, or new Lumi Plus Sweat Control. That's LumeDeodorant.com, code SUPER for 15% off your first purchase. Love it or return it for free. That's LumeDeodorant.com, code SUPER to save 15% today.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel will help you start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks, "How's your French going?" you can say,
Babbel facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue.
Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Hi, I'm Cesar Milan. People are always commenting on how happy and healthy my dogs are. One of the reasons is the food my dogs eat.
Introducing Dr. Marty's Nature's Blend, a premium freeze-dried raw dog food.
I have been feeding them Dr. Marty's freeze-dried raw formula for years. And this food is a big part of why their jaws are more flexible, their teeth are cleaner, and their coats shinier, and why they seem more youthful and playful.
And dog parents across the U.S. are loving it.
My dog Hazel is a 10-and-a-half-year-old golden retriever. And ever since I've been feeding her Dr. Marty's Nature's Blend food, she is like a puppy again. It's unbelievable.
We're so confident your dog will love it. Your order is backed with a 90-day guarantee. And for a limited time, save up to 54% off Nature's Blend and get a free bag of Cod Krispies. They're wild-caught, ultra-crunchy cod skin treats. Go to drmartypets.com/deal or text DEAL to 511-511. Text DEAL to 511-511 today. All dogs are unique. Your dog results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Diego.
Hi, Diego. It's Jennifer Coolidge. You know, I just want to say your cashback match makes me feel so special. It really inspired me.
That's great. Doubling the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year is what we do.
Well, I'm doubling everything now. Double dating, double dipping, double feature, double header, double whammy. Basically double or nothing.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
97.3 ESPN has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible weekly offers from some fantastic local restaurants. Here's this week's big deal.
Get a $50 gift card good for use at Yuri's Waterfront Restaurant in Wildwood for just $25.
Get this great deal starting Friday at 9 a.m. at seizethedeal.com. Hurry, chances are this deal will sell quickly. For more info on this great deal, go to seizethedeal.com.
SeizeTheDeal.com. Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennick on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Josh Hennick back here, wrapping up the Power Hour known as Game Night. I wanted to follow up on a couple of points that Rob made there before we get out of here, because I thought it was very interesting how he talked about, he's like, look, if they don't get what's his name? CeeDee Lamb in the camp, how that could affect the Cowboys season. And he's right. This isn't like Emmitt Smith with the Cowboys in the 90s where he held out for a couple of weeks. They came right in. They went on to win a Super Bowl, because that Cowboys team was already a championship caliber winning organization, right? That team had one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. It had future Hall of Famers on the O-line, at quarterback, at wide receiver. So when Emmitt did eventually come into that locker room, there were already established expectations because of what they've already done, what they've already accomplished. You don't have that when it comes to this Cowboys currently. And Rob is 100% right. What is Jerry and Stephen Jones doing down there in Dallas, or right now out in California where they're having training camp? What is the rationale for any organization to go around and just hope for the best as a strategy for negotiating? Look, I get it in the most literal sense. CeeDee Lamb has to come to camp at some point so they can keep getting fined, right? He'll show up for the season, doesn't miss game checks. But I got to tell you guys, this is a bad look for the Cowboys. You drafted this guy. You invested your own organizational capital in this guy. If you're not going to keep the guy, then get rid of him. Move on. The reason why the 49ers can play this game with Brandon Ayuk is because they've been to 2 Super Bowl appearances in the last several years with 2 different quarterbacks, with and without Brandon Ayuk. They can sit there and say, hey, man, we've won with you. We've won without you. It's up to you, man. They can do that. They can make that move. Dallas can't. Dallas has already lost so many players in recent years, and they've done a poor job at reinvesting in their own talent. And for an organization like Dallas, if you just looked at an organization like Philadelphia, or an organization like, I'm trying to think of another organization, the Packers, the Lions, the Rams, the 49ers, there are teams that have had way more success than you have. Put your ego aside, Jerry and Stephen Jones, and do what's right for winning a championship. You're not going to win a championship if you don't invest in your own players. There's no reason why CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons, 2 guys that you have drafted in the last few years, should not have already been received brand new contracts already. Those guys should have been locked up immediately. What you do is you make yourself look like a bunch of buffoons, because the Chiefs found a way to get a deal done with Harrison Butker, of all people, a guy who negotiated for himself, not even with an agent. Chiefs take care of their guys. Why can't you? The Cowboys are looking more and more like a joke in how they run their organization. And it shouldn't be that way, because they know better. It's okay. Teams like the Eagles and Washington will benefit from it. I'm Josh Henning. This is Game Night. Catch you tomorrow.
Hey, it's Tom P., host of Rack and Fin Radio, inviting you to join me every Saturday morning at 7 here on 97.3 ESPN FM.
So I've done a post show in a little while. So I just want to give a real quick thought on. I mentioned this to Rob Motti about Harrison Butker. So if you're watching on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig, like, subscribe, share it. Because I do this sometimes, a little post show of the show really quick. And that is, the Harrison Butker thing, I think, is going to be a hotly contested topic in certain circles for a while, because Harrison Butker getting this contract is another example of how in the NFL, they don't care what your political or your social beliefs are. They don't even care if you're a good person or not. The NFL cares if you have talent. You can make the argument Harrison Butker is one of the 3 best kickers in the entire league. And as I told Rob Motti about 20 minutes ago, the 3 highest paid kickers are all arguably the 3 best kickers in the NFL. Harrison Butker, Justin Tucker, and Jake Elliott. We live in a society where people have tried to paint Harrison Butker as being a villain, as being a bad guy, because he has very traditional beliefs. Which, first of all, nobody would care what somebody would say at a commencement ceremony at a Catholic school if it wasn't streamed online. If that speech was never filmed and never put online, nobody would know or care what Harrison Butker said. Nobody was following around guys 20, 30 years ago, documenting what they said at commencement speeches. Nobody was walking around and following Reggie White around and documenting everything, every single thing he said. Reggie White is as traditional as it got. And some of the beliefs that he had in his faith as becoming a minister after football were definitely controversial in some circles. There's a lot of people who have had traditional beliefs in sports who nobody talked about it because nobody cared. It was not a hotly contested topic. But because in today's world that everything is out there in the open, people like Harrison Butker and Deion Sanders and others, their religious beliefs, their Christian faith, or whatever how you want to quantify, whatever box you want to put it in, right? However you want to stereotype it, the reality is that we live in a world where it's okay to go after Christians because maybe what they say doesn't make you feel comfortable, okay? At the end of the day, Harrison Butker has every right to believe and think what he wants. He didn't say anything that was harmful, illegal. Now, whether you agree with it or not, and I personally, listen, as someone who myself, I am a Christian. But I think the way Harrison Butker presented his beliefs was a little bit aggressive, and I wouldn't have presented it that way. I don't think the way he verbalized some of what he believes is something that I personally would agree with verbalizing it that way. It doesn't make what he said evil or wrong or bad or disgusting or however you want to call it. The reality is that whether Harrison Butker was Christian or Jewish or Muslim or Buddhist or Hindu or Quaker or Seventh-day Adventist, Scientologist, whatever, as long as what he says in a public forum does not instigate violence, as long as what he says does not create any harm to anybody, as long as what he says does not create an environment that does not hurt people, who cares what he said? Who cares? But the reality is that in today's world, social media gets butthurt over every single thing, even by a guy named Harrison Butker. Okay? A guy who's probably was made fun of his entire life for having one of the worst names on planet Earth, Butker. Okay? The guy's got a horrible last name, and he has turned himself into a somebody. And I applaud him. The dude negotiated his own contract, and now he's the highest paid kicker in the NFL. I say good for him. And I also say good for Travis Kelce, a man whose personal beliefs are very different than Harrison Butker, a man who is dating a woman in Taylor Swift who does not have traditional political beliefs and values. Okay. Travis and Taylor have both been overtly and, subvertly. Okay. They have not been always overt about it, but they have been, nuanced about some of their political and social beliefs, but they both would fit into the category of liberal or progressive. Travis Kelce came out aggressively on his New Heights Show podcast and defended his teammate Harrison Butker because he said, Harrison Butker is a great human being. Every person I've ever introduced him to, he has been kind and good and genuine to every one of those people. And Travis has said, look, I love Harrison Butker. He's like, I might not agree with what he said, but I believe he should have a right to say what he said. And I believe in my guy. He's my guy, and I will ride or die with him because he is a reason why we have won championships. So at the end of the day, what Harrison Butker said ultimately has no consequence in the grand scheme of things. What Harrison Butker said at that, what was it? It was a commencement speech. Nobody would care if it wasn't filmed. And that's why I verbalized it to Rob Motti earlier, that this was for many people of traditional beliefs, Catholic, Christian, whatever your source of your moral, traditional values are. For many of you out there who believe those things, this was a win for you today. Because when you see someone like Harrison Butker get paid a big contract after him saying what he said, a guy like Deion Sanders getting a major high-profile job at the University of Colorado, these men having these levels of success is something for you to cheer for, because on the flip side, you do look at someone like Gina Carano being cancel cultured as something that bothers many of you out there, okay? You look at someone like Letitia Wright, who played Shuri in the Black Panther movies, and you see how she is treated on social media. Women who have traditional values have been put down and canceled by parts of society, whereas men who are not, quote unquote, supposed to have these traditional beliefs because they are supposed to be pressured into believing certain things a certain way, they are having a level of success professionally that other people have not. And so I think for a lot of people out there, there is a feeling of, hey, we are glad that Harrison Butker is having success. We are glad that Harrison Butker got paid. And it is a good sign that it's still in the NFL. You are rewarded based on merit, and you're not rewarded based on your political beliefs. Now, if the Chiefs could get the rest of their house in order, which is some of the problem children they have in their organization, guys who get in trouble with the law, guys who have other problems off the field, they got to get that part of their house in order. But at least in this case, you have to give the Chiefs credit for doing the right thing, which is a guy is one of the best kickers in the NFL, and he should be paid accordingly as it. Whether you agree with Harrison Butker's political or social beliefs or not, the right thing was done today. And if you're someone who is mad at the Chiefs or mad at Harrison Butker because he made all this money because of what he said, then you need to reevaluate your own view of the world. Because at the end of the day, this country was founded on the idea that we should be allowed to speak and believe certain things, as long as they don't hurt anybody else, as long as what you say and believe and your religious actions and your religious attitudes don't cause harm or violence against anybody else. Who cares what you believe? I always tell people, look, I don't care what you do in your private life, as long as you don't infringe on my ability to be free with what I do with my private life, right? That's the American way. And I think that Harrison Butker being paid is as American as it gets. You should not be judged in your professional life for your personal beliefs. As long as what your personal beliefs are do not hurt anybody. And frankly, nothing that Harrison Butker said hurt anybody at the commencement speech. In fact, you could maybe criticize him, if anything, for catering during his audience. He gave a very traditional view of marriage and women to a crowd of very traditionally valued people. So if anything, if we criticize it for anything, he's a panderer and he's great at placating to his audience. I'm Josh Hennig, at Josh Hennig on Twitter X platform, at Joshua S. Hennig on Instagram. I'll be back tomorrow for game night here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, and right here on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig. Have a great night, everybody.